In our village of Umuaro, death was always met with mourning. Women wailed, tearing at their wrappers, and men sat in silence, their faces dark with grief. But there was one man who was different, Enami. While others cried at funerals, he laughed. Not a nervous chuckle or a quiet snicker, but a deep, full-bellied laughter, the kind that echoed through the air like thunder. The first time I saw it, I was a boy of 12. An elder had died, and the entire village gathered to pay respect. Just as the priest began his prayers, Enami burst into laughter from the back of the crowd. Gasps filled the air. The elder's family turned, their eyes burning with rage. A man rushed at Enami, ready to strike him, but the chief raised his hand to stop him. "Let the fool be," the chief said. "He will answer to the gods." From that day, Enami was seen as cursed. Children avoided him, women whispered about him, and even the bravest men kept their distance. Yet he never explained himself. He only smiled and walked away. Years passed, and I grew into a man. I had nearly forgotten about Enami's strange ways, until the day Elder Obina died. Elder Obina was the soul of our village. He settled disputes with wisdom, fed the hungry with kindness, and never turned away those in need. His death left Umuaro in deep sorrow. The entire village prepared for a grand funeral, a tribute to the man who had given so much to us. But amid the mourning, whispers spread. Would Enami come? And if he did, would he laugh? The funeral took place under the great Iroko tree, where the village gathered for important events. The air was thick with grief. Women sobbed, men bowed their heads, and even the sky seemed to mourn, covered in heavy clouds. Then, just as the priest began his prayer, Enami appeared. He stood at the back, his arms folded, his dusty sandals barely making a sound on the red earth. I saw people stiffen. The chief's jaw clenched. And then it happened. As the priest spoke of Elder Obina's kindness, Enami threw back his head and laughed. A long, ringing laughter that sent shivers through the crowd. A cry of outrage burst from Obina's eldest son, Cheek. He shot to his feet, his fists clenched. "How dare you?" he roared. "How dare you mock my father's death?" Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Some men moved closer to Enami, ready to drag him out. But Enami only wiped his eyes and smiled. "I do not mock your father," he said, his voice calm. "I laugh because I see what you cannot." Silence fell. The villagers exchanged uneasy glances. "What do you mean?" Chike demanded. But Enami only shook his head. "You would not understand," he said simply. Then he turned and walked away, his laughter still hanging in the air. That night, the village was restless. The elders sat in the chief's hut, discussing what to do about Enami. Some said he should be banished. Others feared he was touched by the gods. But Chik, humiliated and angry, was not content with whispers. He vowed to uncover the truth. Before he could, tragedy struck again. Maka, the beautiful daughter of the village potter, was found lifeless at the bottom of the riverbank. Her mother's screams shattered the morning air. The village gathered, whispering about curses and bad omens. As we prepared for her funeral, an unspoken fear gripped us. Would Enami come again? And if he did, would he laugh? The next day, under dark clouds, we stood around Amaka's grave. Her mother wept uncontrollably, her hands clutching the earth. The priest had barely begun the rites when a familiar sound filled the air. Laughter. Gasps spread through the crowd. I turned and saw Enami standing at the edge of the gathering, his shoulders shaking with mirth. Amaka's mother wailed in rage. Why do you laugh at my daughter's death? She cried. This time Enami did not walk away. His laughter faded, and his face grew serious. He looked directly at Amaka's mother. I do not laugh at your daughter, he said. I laugh because the truth is near. Chike, who had been watching closely, stepped forward. What do you mean, Enami? He demanded. Enami met his gaze. The dead do not rest when they have been wronged. Chike stiffened. Are you saying Amaka was murdered? Enami didn't answer directly. Instead he said, Your father and Amaka share the same fate. A murmur ran through the crowd. Chike's face darkened. If you know something, speak plainly. But Enami only said, Listen to the whispers of the dead, and you will find your answers. That night, Chike sought out Enami. I followed unseen, my curiosity stronger than my fear. He found Enami sitting outside his hut, staring at the sky. Tell me what you know, Chike demanded. Enami sighed. Your father did not die of old age, Chike. He was poisoned, Chike recoiled. That's a lie. Enami shook his head. Ask the village healer. She will tell you your father came to her, complaining of a bitter taste in his food. Chike's breath quickened. And Amaka? She knew something she wasn't supposed to, Enami said. That's why she was silenced. The next morning, Chike began asking questions. The healer confirmed Enami's words. Obina had complained of a strange illness before his death. The village cook hesitated before revealing that Obina's younger brother, Ezenwa, had been the one preparing his meals in his final days. Chike confronted Ezenwa, and after hours of questioning, the truth unraveled. Ezenwa had poisoned his brother, hoping to claim his land. Amaka had overheard a conversation between Ezenwa and a trusted servant. Before she could speak, she was pushed into the river. With the evidence in hand, Chike brought the case before the elders. Ezenwa and his accomplice were banished from the village, their names never to be spoken again. The day after the judgment, Enami disappeared. His hut was empty, his few belongings untouched. No one saw him leave, but we all knew he was gone. I never saw Enami again, but sometimes in the quiet of the night, I swear I can hear laughter carried by the wind. Now I understand, he never laughed at death, he laughed at the truth, knowing it could never stay buried forever.